Paris is Burning by Jenny Livingston. This is a documentary about the New York ball culture of African American, Hispanic, gay, and trans people in the 1980s, and is the basis for, or relatively the basis for, the television show Pose from FX. This is a fantastic documentary detailing the culture generally around the House of Extravaganza and other ballroom scenes in the late 80s. Filmed over 7 years, it documents the golden age of the ballroom culture, and in 2016 was added to the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally significant. And it really is. This is a fantastic documentary. If you have any interest in this kind of culture, it is a very good watch. It is a very fun watch, for the most part. Not really spoiler, it does end with the cover here, Venus Extravaganza being murdered. But this is real life. This is just what happened at the time. She was strangled to death. So it ends kind of sourly, but most of the documentary is a fun watch, and you get to see a glimpse into a culture that really just is kind of dying out at this point. House of Extravaganza and several other houses are still around. They do still exist, and they do still do very prominent work. You'll see it a lot on things like Drag Race and Pose. They were and are still very popular. But the general culture for the ballroom shows just is kind of died off at this point. Ball culture can be traced back to the mid-19th century, with events hosted by William Dorsey Swann. Eventually, by the mid-20th century, in response to racism in integrated drag culture, eventually it kind of separated to its own thing and became the ballroom culture that we know today and what is featured in this documentary, offering a place where African American and Hispanic people could walk for trophies and cash prizes, like as seen in the documentary, eventually integrating a little bit further to include more LGBT people. And then that's where we kind of pick up with this, showing the late 80s and I guess early 90s, with around, Madonna's Vogue era of what was going on. It's a very important documentary in the sense that it documents a time that otherwise is not super documented. It wasn't huge in pop culture because being gay was a problem still, let alone being trans, and then being minorities on top of that. That just, no one was going to pick this up for, typical TV show in America, right? So without this, we really wouldn't have the same level of documentation that we do. Again, this is a time of the AIDS crisis. Obviously, racial tensions were still extremely high, not that they've changed a ton. There was obviously hate towards gay people in general at the time, especially gay men, as everyone believed that was who was pushing HIV, to the point where being gay was already such a problem that being trans just was unheard of. That was a whole different problem that America had with, and obviously we still continue to have a lot of these problems, but the difference is truly night and day. Yes, there's a lot of problems now, don't pretend that there's not, but at least the general public, for better or worse, knows what it means to be trans, whereas then you were just a guy in a dress. So, I guess progress, well, we're going to pretend that it is. I don't know. Either way, this is a very good documentary, a very important documentary, and you can tell my copy is not opened. I streamed this. I saw it on HBO Max. No idea what I was getting into. I thought Paris is Burning was going to be something entirely different. That's on me. I didn't really look at what I was watching before I watched it. It just looked interesting. But ended up being a really cool documentary, and I ended up picking it up during the 50% off sale recently from the Criterion Collection. Absolutely worth watching, absolutely worth the pickup, and if you watch it and you like it, I really suggest going to watch Pose. While I don't really love the back half of the second season and a lot of the third season, especially the way the series ended, overall, there is one core aspect that I really liked, but I didn't really like the whole thing. Season 1 of Pose is absolutely fantastic, and I can't recommend watching that enough. It almost works as its own little story. You're definitely going to want to see more after that, and to be honest, it kind of slowly becomes a bit of a letdown, but that first season is fantastic. This isn't a video about Pose, but just throwing it out there. If you like what you're seeing in this documentary, definitely continue on. Watch Pose. It is just a television show version of these similar events. It's obviously inspired by, and there's a lot taken from it. But anyway, very good movie. Definitely go watch it. I don't really talk too much about documentaries because I don't want to fact check everything I say, because that seems like a lot of work. But this was a really good one, and I think everyone should watch it. Bye.